Hey, and welcome. Check out my new advanced lyricism. Um, okay, well, today we're going to look at the sources of things in the body and how. Well, this is getting past just advanced lyricism. Anyway, I bought this. This is a military Muslim tourniquet, that goes on your head. I bought it not because it's Muslim, but I bought it because uh, well, it'll keep me, nice and dry. I mean, cool. I'm gonna go volunteer at a spiritual place for a few months, and it's gonna be out in the desert, basically. It's gonna be in Colorado. So, but anyway, I'll need it because it's gonna be like 100 degrees out there. I have a lot of things about this. This is some definitely, I'm gonna probably need assistance, making the rest of this stuff. But I want to go ahead and just tell you, true story a long time ago that I had a dream last night, and it was I had a rebirth, and I was reborn, and it was my same life I had now, except it was missing an element. Basically, I was born, and I got to come back through my life and recorrect it as me, like saying, like, don't do that shit. I was telling my mom how to be and stuff in the dream. It was my mom, but I think it was probably just money. And obviously, use the word money because money goes like that in your hand. I mean, that's one gesture that does stick together with other words. Some people's worlds. And anyway, here I drew this for you. It's some basic stuff about it. Yesterday I went to a convenience store and there was really not really important information, but anyway, I instructed, and I instructed, myself in the dream, because there's a blank memory, of basically movements and stuff. We're just looking at the fact that, you can choke, it's baby. You can choke on a piece of pizza, and you can have either a heart attack or you can reject that pizza. And I was a piece of pizza before I was born for about 10 years in one of the nodes. And basically it's about, our whole life, I'll sit there and, you eat, and sometimes you have like a clot of food in your throat, or like when you're definitely, in your child age, and especially as a baby. You'll have food, that will go in your throat, and the ways you talk, ways you vocalize and stuff will kind of avoid that. And sometimes, you have this little raspiness of your voice, and you realize that food being consumed and this little knot being stressed is the fact that this knot is where food will try to go down here, and, a big chunk of bread, you could sit there and try to swallow it or need it or not. And, it wouldn't finish going down, but my mother would have had to have swallowed it, and it had to come from somewhere. And I'm looking at how ingredients make things. Pizza is from sex, and it's true. Hands smell kind of like cheese, for example. There's emotions. There's there's ingredients. There's tomato. There's a cow. It has to be, people have to be there. Basically, and when you're a baby and you don't remember it, you're being instructed, and you're doing a lot of gangster undercover moves like this, and like movements of real deals going on and real things happening, that you are moving, to actually make those things carry out between other people that are not there yet. I mean, people that are, like it's going to be carried out or was, brought to you, just when you're a baby, you are moving and doing stuff, and you are literally doing bad stuff, acting out. And, it needs to be covered. People need to understand it. And anyway, so this dream I had, kind of leads up to this, which is what I really wanted to teach. I have a lot of other stuff, but we have knots that appear, in our body, knots up, informational knots, something that isn't digested because it's too big, and is because it is rejected and something else would be picked, or it would be finally accepted at some point. And that's just with food, but cone saliva theorem. But one thing, is to definitely learn how to not be all flat and, like one of those intestines. So, gay cum, of course. That's all that will ever go in those. As far as I can tell, that's usually what would happen in a male bond. It's always that. Their ingredient, it has to be. It has to be, something that is censored, not acceptable, and then would be, But sometimes, you look at a piece, a pizza, and there's a piece of sausage sitting there, some cheese, and it starts sitting there for a long time, and it looks like someone's leg sitting there, fucking, you just see like a penis just kind of laying there, and it's like a cold piece of sausage, and it's not really wanted. And then, it leads up to the point to where, you don't really want to eat that sausage on that pizza, and you might want to, like, move it out of the way, or, you want to just, like, eat, like, the cold part of it and prefer that, instead of not preferring the heated part of it. Or you'll just leave it sitting there, and then everyone that pulls out their dick looks like, sausage. And, it doesn't look very delicious. But to someone, being a risky moment. But this is just the fact that, I definitely was, going to that throat, and, I was at the top, and it had to come from other people in order for me to find out my source. And, I got to thank Eminem just for being the one who cleared that for me, because, he, is pretty self-explanatory. Because he would create the dilemmas, and, you have to have human things happen. You can't have, Jesus, just hide it, and then, you don't know where you came from. You obviously do not need, it's just a Lorem Ipsum, if anything. The Bible is a definite Lorem Ipsum. It's just zoomed out, but, that, is meant to offend some people. But anyway, I could go on and on about it, it's just the fact that, Latin America, my hand explaining looks sexy, and I don't really need much more explanation besides the fact that my hand moving and looking sexy is all that I need, but I need confirmation of that. It's either going to be informational or it's just going to be about my hand moving. It doesn't matter what I would say if I just have something that doesn't matter what I would say if what I have to say is just how I am moving and what I am saying, but not what it means, but what it means definitely, because it's just how I'm moving. So that would explain, where I came from, is definitely how I am moving and how I would like to explain fully, with a full gesture instead of it be compacted in baby womb like how I was, So anyway, with all of that, I think that, women are sexy. And, if I was a baby, I'd still want to know if women are sexy or not. And I would say, that I'd have to be another man, because I'd have to look, past someone to see someone. I can't just look at someone, unless I have zero, like, I wouldn't be able to think at all, but I would look good to maybe a camera if it was a person, but cameras can't really do much else besides just take a picture, and after that, there's not really much further you can go. Because, cameras, has words on it. At least someone wrote it, someone thought of it, part had to happen somewhere in the room. Had to happen, can't be missed. You have to, know where all these things are going. And anyway, the dream is that first, I was born, and, I was having my rebirth, and, I was with my mom, and I was telling her what I learned, is to be evil. And, there's good and bad of God, and, I don't believe it was really evil, but it was just instructing and telling what to do because it looked like it was right. But just looking good, and not having any information, would still have that information. It's just that it would be how it would look, but not how it would look, So if it was me talking, it looked sexy and good, or something. Looked, it was good, And anyway, I basically traced myself to ingredients of a person that was the piece of pizza that was choked on as my mother was there, because 1980 was an era, a decade, and it was amount of time, Dick. And that sounds pretty verbial. I think every word sticks together. I believe that if pizza sounds like piece of, it's definitely two pieces, and pizza creates pizza piece of. And it has to be able to stick together and have a full motion, that is, fully together, like a substance, and it has to be there. It has to come from the speech. So I have this cone saliva theorem, and it's just the fact that, when you look at something good as an ingredient, it creates the saliva. People in a room that have good thoughts about something good, no matter what, you're still going to generate saliva, and it takes saliva to have a moist mouth, and it will get dry. Now, it can stay dry, but the fact is that we naturally have a temperate level, kind of like a water level, where there's air and moisture, water, and we need oxygen to survive. We need, anyway, the theorem is basically that, people that have clean saliva without diseases and everything, like saliva that can be, exchanged between two people, is a better way to say it, is that people that have preferring saliva, can actually drink each other's saliva if they're in agreement with each other, and you can share a glass with each other, and you share a glass with each other. You can have that same saliva as long as you are all having a good vibe, and you can share somebody's drink, because all of the things that they say can fluid into the good vibe movement, and all the good vibes then go into the cup, and so using that verbally, something that you intend, that is a good thing, cannot be like poop that is going into the cup. You can't have someone with herpes, with their saliva. You want that person with herpes to get your saliva, and just basic knowledge. And and just the fact that me swallowing other people's salivas, it's the only thing that you really need as a medium of speech, and sex, and anything else, because something tastes good and is consumed. We have all these different types of food, like honey buns, which represent saliva, but also, that, those things that, repertoire on the saliva, definitely, have places to come from, reasons they were made, why they have the shapes, what that says. It's definitely a Lorem Ipsum of books, for sure, but it's just a Lorem Ipsum of saliva, that you have to take the pieces and make, some sense out of it. So, one thing I proposed was that, old people give you like candy and stuff, and you don't really want it. It's crackly old. People call people cracker. You see some old person whispering like this. It has those, Donald Trump lips, that aren't fully developed, but he could have, just regular lips. It has these little cracks in, and you see people in like school, they're like old teachers and stuff, or just regular, just kids, people, and just like, and you just see it oozing out. It's leaking out dry, and that's not good. That's death. It's like, it's no good. There's no suction between two people. We don't need to have sex. If you want to sum it up, all sex, really is just the fact that you can spit and then suck it back up in front of someone without getting killed, because you might get shot if you don't do something that is, superstition, and so anyway, what I propose is we need to be able to go up to people and just kiss them randomly at any time, and before we introduce them afterwards, and to ourselves before we meet them, kiss them, understanding what that is, because there's a full suction. And it also has to do with saliva, Because, I mean, if you think that your whole life is just you in a corner as a little baby going like this, and the fact that you are not also going and sucking it back up at the same time over and over and over, over here as an adult human being, because you're doing something to remind you of, being safe, and just stealthy, and then as a baby, you're even being more stealthy and safe, and, so, being able to kiss someone and not, I mean, there's leakage coming out of these words and people are not holding them in, and, fish, can grow and get really big and, they never really die usually. And, they get as big as they want to get, but the thing is that we're sharing stuff and, old age is not something that we want from people to have. And, we are still developing from the, water age, where, you can just take a shit anywhere and, it seemed acceptable, and, poop. I could just walk up to someone and say, hey, would you like a piece of poop? And they would definitely respond, as long as I have, the proper, way to react and for them to use. And of course, they would obviously give me, a response, just like a child, and just like someone in a school. And all of that stuff is improper stuff that we to overlook, and so instead of just going up to someone and say, hey, would you like a piece of poop, we can now do something, and just kind of shock each other and kind of do other things and have no leakage in between everything, instead of just kissing one giant penis, which is just God. I don't want to just sit there and kiss penis all day, but that's the point, is that kissing lips would actually just be the fact that suction on both sides is there. And that's what sex is supposed to be. It's just to keep the intention of the good stuff that we want in between two people, instead of having shit in the middle of it and then just ignoring it because it is, imperfect or perfect or whatever. I just don't think that that is sound. I don't think that's good. So anyway, in this, there was, see, I'll just read it to you. I was one rattling around chunk of pizza, approximately, 2 inches in diameter, that could be swallowed, about like that. We also have people that just run around with gang signs, I think that that's pretty easy, cool to see, to understand, and diameter, traded, or something, for my real mother's threesome. And it had to be my real ideal mother, because I don't think she had a threesome with any guys. But she had to have thought of it, or at least someone did for her that was more expressive and actually will talk. You will speak. You will talk. People that are in a crowded room that can't speak, if everyone else starts doing it and you can't do anything about it, it will do it for you. So it's good to be aware of it. I don't think that she would have not wanted it, but it's just because, there's old age, there's dying, there's getting rid of your life, it's disappearing, and, disappearing isn't really a good thing. Having something that would not be a fantasy, someone would have had to at least thought of you, so you would have been there, and you would have been present, and, it wasn't exactly these two people, but I'm sure it would have been many mixtures of people, but it was a mathematical equivalent. And, it was with the real me instructing her, the real me, the ideal real me, which would have been in other people, but would have had to have been mapped out. It would have been something that was missing that wasn't me, in order for there to be something that would, so, there was a Mexican dude, that talked to her about it, and there was a waterfall, and, I was out there as a little kid, a little baby, like 2 years old with my mom or whatever, and they just talked, and then, I told her, about it, and then all of a sudden, we go to a pizza place or something, and it was in the 80s, and she ends up, with me helping her, because I told her to do it, because I said, you're not doing the right thing, you're not doing the right thing, you're not doing what you're supposed to do. I need to tell you to do this, is what I was saying to her in the dream, in the event, in the thought, in the mapped out thing that happened. And so then, she ends up getting with this looking dude who looks like an Italian. He's probably like 20s or 30s or 40s or whatever the age was. I mean, it doesn't really matter. It's just mathematically what it would be. It's equivalent to a white guy or a black guy here, or just some other contrast to that one. But it would have been a real person, and it could have been my neighbor. It could have been anything. But it had to have been there, and it had to happen, and it didn't happen. But that's not right, because see, if I was there, I would have told her what to do. I would have told her, that she needs to be more evil, because I don't see anything coming out of the good, since all it is just getting wrinkles and being dead and probably just looking at, crumbs, and the fact that the Lorem Ipsum, so, and then, so we have these three people, and, they, had it there, and, and it was cheating on my dad, but it was a good thing, and, I mean, that's a gangster good thing, that's something that I think I would have been doing if I was fighting for my mom, and fighting for my dad, to be himself and be a human, be a human being, and, just be yourself, type of thing, is what I really, really wanted to convey. And, only embarrassment would be having it right now. I don't really see anything else besides the fact that that's important, and that you could have either had a heart attack or you could have had a threesome. And, I'm just seeing the fact, my mom had a heart attack a couple of, it's like 2 or 3 or 4 years ago. Or no, it was like a couple of years ago. She had a heart attack. She could have either had this threesome or had a heart attack. And I told her to have the threesome instead of the heart attack, and she had a heart attack instead. Because you can choke on a piece of pizza, and, it gives you heartburn, if you swallow it too big, and it gives you that not having a threesome feel, If you want, those fantasies and threesomes and, things like that make you feel better, instead of just being dead and old and, I cared and I prayed, but I didn't get anything, because praying is, and that's what's needed. You have to be able to attack, when you're praying, because all you're going to do is just sit there and look at some old, non-existent Lorem Ipsum. You can't look at a Lorem Ipsum and think the Lorem Ipsum is the Lorem Ipsum. When the Lorem Ipsum, is just the fact that, Lorem Ipsum is just words because they are written. It's just like, the whole Latin language is just a bunch of regular stuff. But me being right about that, makes me have that integrity. But I'm not sacrificing it for the threesome. I would want to keep that threesome, that fantasy. But, she chose to have the heart attack instead of that. And the pizza clumping up, and me being that as the baby, coming through, and all that is really important. But, thanks to, Eminem and just siphoning all the words out and figuring out where they came from, where they went to, is a good start, at least. But, he still has more to do, and we have more to do, and more to fuck, because I don't want to have a heart attack. And choke on a piece of pizza just to have a heart attack, so someone can look at a big giant thing, at a Toys R Us. It's just another, and that's where it goes, it's always going to be, another chicken nugget to choke on. I don't want that. I don't want to have some old crappy toy that looks like shit just because I choked and had a heart attack and died. It just is not mathematically correct. I'd rather have, threesome going into the body, so that I can feel happy. And I'd want Jesus to be fucking her if it was, if he had to. Probably be that Italian dude, or at least the one that looks like the wise dude that was like by the river and talked about it. And, people change forms, of course. They have to have metaphorical, and they have to have, things that they look like, things that they don't, and, then it has to hit. And it's like, this dude looked exactly like that dude I went to school with, and, he didn't have this, and you don't have that either. And you needed that too, and then, you know what, you needed that shit too, so I definitely, give you that knowledge, but yeah, so the cone saliva theorem is just the fact that instead of choking on shit and instead of, you know, all of that other stuff, or just, you know, instead of having to look at this as heart attack and that, I mean, we are looking at the fact this is our body and these are items, you know, and that we need a person to confirm it. You know, we need a person to confirm what's coming back to us, you know, and we can't have it to where the, you know, the literal words in the Lorem Ipsum are actually words about stuff in the Lorem Ipsum, because the Lorem Ipsum is just a bunch of just random, very precise words, you know, very placed words, you know, that are definitely information. And yeah, and so, you know, instead of choking on that one piece of pizza that's, you know, really dry and in your throat all the time, you could just be, you know, picturing the fact that you are now drinking safe saliva, you know, for someone who doesn't want a heart attack, you know, and, you know, wants to, you know, see what was going on instead of see what was going on, you know, because seeing what was going on, you know, could have been looking at the Lorem Ipsum and having a heart attack instead of, you know, being a prayer and someone who's going to get what they want, you know, and, I mean, you know, question what is there, of course, you know, instead of question what is there, of course, if it was the Lorem Ipsum.